How to write a motivation statement. This is a UCC Career Services guide on how to write a strong motivation statement for your application for a taught postgraduate course. What is a motivation statement? A motivation statement is a written account of your interest in a postgraduate course of study, which usually includes your reasons for applying, relevant experience and achievements, and career aspirations. You may be required to answer specific questions or invited to write a free-form statement of 500 words or so approximately. Motivation statements might also be described as personal statements or statements of interest. So if you see that language used elsewhere, it refers to exactly the same kind of document. Why are motivation statements used? Course directors and admissions committees use motivation statements to select or shortlist the best candidates, to confirm that candidates have researched the course fully, to confirm that candidates are genuinely interested in the course and know what the course is about and why they're applying, and to generate questions for interview, if applicable. Not all courses involve an interview, but if the course does involve an interview, then the motivation statement can reveal interesting areas to explore further at the interview stage. Just under 200 postgraduate courses in UCC require a motivation statement, and most of them use this wording. Please describe your motivation and readiness for this program and how this program fits with your future objectives or career objectives. The motivation statement must be a minimum of 500 and a maximum of 1,000 words. Some courses have additional requirements. So some courses require more detail, such as more detail on research experience or past academic experience, for example. So some courses will require more detail on the candidate's research experience. So in addition to the motivation statement, they might ask the candidate to write a separate section where this is the language normally used. Please detail a research project that you are currently doing or have completed in the past. The duration is about 200 or 300 words. So the candidate will go into more detail there on their research projects than perhaps they did in the motivation statement. Or they might ask for more detail on academic or professional training. In addition to your previously stated qualifications, please outline any additional academic courses, self-learning and professional training relevant to this program. So a candidate might have the opportunity here to go into more detail on extra academic courses they've taken in addition to their degree, any also optional or self-learning opportunities, for example, online skills courses or reskilling or upskilling courses or certifications that they've taken, or if they have qualified professionally in another area, they can go into more detail on that here than they might have done in their motivation statement. Each and every course might have certain unique requirements. So for example, the Masters in Work Psychology has very specific detail on what it needs to have included in the motivation statement. So candidates need to include their reasons for applying for the program and how their reasons fit with their experience, interests and career objectives within work and organizational psychology or behavior. They have to include experience of group work in an education setting or a teamwork setting, experience of managing time and workloads effectively, and experience of managing conflict in work or educational settings. So they have very specific pointers there on what they need to have included in the motivation statement. So really you need to log in and look at the course you're hoping to apply for, and you need to check their individual requirements. So each and every course might have very kind of customized or unique requirements. You just need to check. But as mentioned, most courses will require an overall motivation statement, and in most cases, this is the wording that's used. Please describe your motivation and readiness for this program and how this program fits with your future objectives or career objectives. People are often not sure where to start with a motivation statement. So that example for UCC is very similar to the wording used in other institutions as well. And essentially, there are three main questions you need to be able to answer before you can write a good motivation statement. Why do you want a place on this postgraduate course, which is your motivation? Why should you be offered a place, which is to do with your readiness or suitability? And what are your goals and how is this postgraduate course relevant? So you need to be able to answer all three questions. So before you start writing, ask yourself those questions and know that for motivation, you need to provide good, positive, compelling reasons that are unique to you and show you've done your homework. For readiness, you need to provide relevant skills and attributes, but support them also with evidence, your past experiences and your achievements that provide evidence that you have those skills and attributes. And thirdly, you need to have very clear and specific goals. Ensure that your goals are ambitious, but also, feasible and achievable and well researched. So it sounds like you've done some homework into what your options would be on graduation from the course, so that the course coordinator knows that you have a good sense of the different career options available, for graduates of that program, and a good understanding of what's required to get experience in those areas. And so then it's more likely to be a win-win outcome for you and the course coordinators. Often I would say to students to verbalize the answers to these questions first. So maybe ask a friend to ask you, why do you want to pursue this postgraduate course? Why do you think you should get a place on this course? And what are your goals? And how is this course relevant? And if you struggle to actually verbalize the answers to those questions, then you need to take a step back and really ask yourself, okay, do I really want to do this course? Is it right for me? Or do I need to do more homework? Do I need to do more research? Do I need to do more thinking and reflecting before I can actually write the write the motivation statement? So really what you're doing in the first instance is you're trying to generate content for the statement. You need substance. So when you're asking yourself why this course, you need to come up with positive, compelling reasons. So for example, is it your interest in the module content? Is that what appeals to you? Is it the kind of teaching or assessment methods you'll get exposure to in that course that will allow you, for example, to get a more practical skill set perhaps than you had before? Is it the actual skills that you will be gaining from the course that really makes you want to apply the kind of lecturers that will be teaching on that course? Is it the strengths of that university or that department, maybe their research profile, their reputation, their standing? Is it, the nature of the work placement options that appeal to you? The semester abroad options. There are some courses in UCC whereby you can study abroad for a semester, sometimes in Erasmus. Is it the professional accreditation that appeals to you? So just be clear on what the reasons are for you in applying for that particular program and give good, positive, and compelling reasons. Secondly, you need to start thinking about why you should get a place. If it's a competitive program, you just want to be confident that you will have a good chance of getting a place on the program. So make sure that you let the course director know everything they need to know about you. The modules that you've studied that are relevant to that particular course, the academic results you've gained, maybe the awards you've achieved if that's relevant to yourself. What kind of skills have you gained from your undergraduate course that they might be aware of? For example, have you been very involved in project work or group work or giving presentations or using certain IT packages? What kinds of internships have you already had exposure to? And what have you learned on those and demonstrated on those? What kind of part-time job might you have had and what kind of experiences did you get there? Did you take on extra responsibility? Were you promoted? And what kind of additional training or certifications did you actually gain? Did you take on extra online courses in your own time? Did you acquire certifications that are relevant to the course of study? Did you take on extracurricular roles in clubs and societies? Did you volunteer for charity? There's so many different things that you might have done that might be relevant to the postgraduate course that you're applying for. So make sure you include everything. And then ask yourself, what are my goals and, what do I want to achieve? How is this postgraduate course relevant and who will benefit from me achieving my goals? And make sure that you're getting across your knowledge of different career paths that are relevant, fields of work you're, interested in going into, maybe postgraduate research options that you're open to, extracurricular goals you might have, how you're going to get involved in student life as a student. And you can see how other people stand to benefit from those goals. So course directors will benefit and peers will benefit if you were a good skilled person when it comes to group work and team projects on the course. Graduate employers will benefit if you move into an area afterwards where there are skill shortages. The university will benefit if you end up doing research in a relevant area in that university. The local student community will benefit if you get involved in clubs or societies. Society will benefit depending on the nature of your study and the knowledge you're acquiring and the research you're doing. So it's useful to think about your goals from the point of view of how they'll benefit other people, and that can help you write a more compelling motivation statement. Another thing I recommend to people if they're just starting and they're not sure how to start a motivation statement is just mind map it. So once you verbalize the answers, just get them down on a piece of paper, jot down the key points that you want to include in the statement, everything that's relevant, just the key points. And then once you have the key points laid out in a mind map here, all of your motivations, all the reasons why you're ready for the course, all of the goals you have, all the people who will benefit from you achieving those goals, then you can start just writing the statement. And I really mean just start writing. So turn off the critic for your first draft. And I don't mean necessarily a person in the room who's critical, although that might be the case. I'm more talking about your inner critic. So write freely your answers to the questions. Don't censor yourself and don't concern yourself with sentence structure or grammar or turn of phrase, how elegantly something is phrased. That doesn't matter. You just need to start writing. Just write. That's really important. And then when you have your first draft and you have the substance on paper, then you can review it, and then you might look at how something is worded, and then you might also include some ways of actually making it easy for somebody to read your statement and see the information they need to see easily. So make sure that you're answering the questions that are being asked in the order that they're asked, and also use a bit of signposting and make it really clear, not mysterious. So if you're addressing your motivations first, use the word motivation so they know that's the motivation paragraph. Um, and also, it can be helpful to use link words. So, for example, if you're saying there are two main motivations for me in applying for this particular course, firstly this and secondly that, those kind of firstly, secondly, in addition, finally, those kind of words just help the reader. You guide the reader through the document, let them know what's coming and how much more is left, and so on. So, just those simple things can help the document to flow much more easily and be easier to see and find the information needed. Then there are some pitfalls to avoid. So people sometimes feel like they got to open with some kind of bang, and they might have a generic quote or an inspirational quotation or something at the top of the motivation statement. You don't need to do that. It's not necessary. So better to open, if you do want to open with a bang, make it something unique to you. Maybe an aha moment that you had in a lab, or some very, very clear insight you have into why you want to study what you want to study. You don't need to have open with generic quotes or have anything generic about your statement. It's not a good idea either to list lots of skills or attributes without supporting them with relevant personal evidence. That's not going to convince anybody. Unnecessary explanations. Sometimes people get into explaining why they studied nutrition as opposed to dietetics right from the beginning or something like that. You don't need to explain why you didn't take a particular approach. The motivation statement should be future focused. It's about the now and what you want to do next. You don't have to give your entire life story. There might be aspects of your life story that are relevant. Sometimes people will literally start in primary school, secondary school, and come up to the present time, and that's not what's required. It's about the 3 Ws. So if there's an aspect of your life story that's relevant, for example, you lived in another country as a child and you're applying for a postgraduate course to do with culture, then obviously you might bring that in because it's relevant. Otherwise, you don't need to bring in details like that. AI generated content is another thing to be really careful of. You might be tempted to just, go onto Copilot or ChatGPT or something and see if they can come up with a generic statement for you. And I just be careful because firstly, you can lose your voice, your authentic voice, if you're using AI generated content. And secondly, you could end up with a mishmash of other statements that have been uploaded there. And it can look like plagiarism, So we know how the university feels about plagiarism, so you don't want to end up being guilty of that before you even start studying there. So it's really important that it's your work and it's your authentic voice. And so generally, I would just recommend that you keep it simple and write the statement yourself in the way that I've recommended. And just some final tips here is not to overthink it. Just get your thoughts on the page. Just literally do it and don't overthink it, and don't evaluate and criticize your writing before you've written. Substance and content is what matters, and address the 3 components: why you want the course, why they should give you a place, and your goals are, what your goals are, how they're relevant to the program, and who will benefit. And you can leave the icing until the end. They say, the icing on the cake, just leave that until the very end, and the polishing until the very end. There are some good resources here that I'd recommend. So Prospects UK has a good section on personal statements. Times Higher Education also has a good section, and so does the Masters Portal website. So I hope what we've given you here will give you the confidence to know that you can get started on writing a good, strong, unique motivation statement.